Hello students, Jai Swaminarayan. I am Professor Urvish Mewada, HOD Electrical Department, Sri Swaminarayan Institute of Technology, Part Gandhinagar. I am the subject matter of Industrial Instrumentation subject, which is in the 7th semester electrical, and GTU subject code for this subject is 2170913. Students, we are currently studying chapter number 3, displacement measurement. In third chapter, this is our lecture number 3. In lecture number 2, we studied about rotary variable differential transducer and output expression of the piezoelectric transducer and the Hall effect sensor. Now, in the lecture number 3, topic number 7, we are going to study the shaft encoder. So this shaft encoder basically used for the displacement measurement. So let us discuss the shaft encoder. So this is the diagram of shaft encoder. uh, in this plate you can see that some parts are transparent and some parts are opaque. So this opaque parts are say dark, and this transparent parts are say white. And this is nothing but the binary code. So from this you can see that the from where the light penetrates, it's called 1. And if there is means no light penetrates through, then it is called 0. Sorry, the light which is not penetrate is called 1, and the light which can through which can penetrate, it is called 0. So here you can see that this all four having the transparent, so are the transparent, then it is called 000. So over here you can see that one point or one part is opaque, so there is no light transfer through this point, so that's why it is called 1. So this is how this plate is made, and it indicates the binary code. So it is 2 raised to 0, then 2 raised to 2, then 2 raised to 1, and 2 raised to 0. So from this we can have the binary code when this plate moves. Say if we put light on the upside, and the sensor at the opposite side, then it sends the light, and it will show the output in terms of binary. So basically such type of shaft encoder translates the angular position of the shaft into the digital number. So basically here this shaft encoder, we are using this shaft encoder for the measurement of angular position of the motor. So the analog variable is converted to the shaft rotation with the help of this shaft encoder. And then using a shaft encoder, the digital voltage signal are generated. Basically we are getting this in terms of 0101, that's why it is called digital voltage are generated. And generally it transduces analog motion to the digital motion or digital voltage. So in this setup you can see that we have a light, so means uh, a load, means it is a load of this plate. So when this plate or we can say the points which are passes above from this plate, then this brushes which rubs on the surface of this. And when this four brushes reaches at this point, at that time light get penetrates, and at that time this sources will have the output. Then all this bulbs will glow, and this readout lamp will sense the output of this glown LEDs, say 1, 2, 4, and 8. So in this figure, the linear encoder, generally this is the linear encoder. We convert like this plate moves linearly, but it converts the angular position into the digital number. So it has 4 bit, as over here you can see that it has the 4 bit, which is divided into the conducting and insulation parts, and the smallest increment measurement over here, you can see that 0.01 mm. So up to 0.15 mm it can be converts from the let's say angular position into the digital output. And as scale moves under the brushes, the lamp circuit are activated or deactivated. So as the this brush moves on the surface of this plate, then according to the arrangement or the design of this plate, this bulb will glow, and which can be seen on the readout panel. So this readout panel will read the position, or we can say intensity of this glown bulb, and from that we can convert this signal into analog, means analog signal into the digital signal, means digital voltage signal. So this is how we can use the shaft encoder. In Basically it is used to obtain the means generally optical shaft encoder is the type of the shaft encoder. So it is basically again the binary number. In the previous case it was the horizontal plate, but in this you can see that it is the circular plate, which is exactly made by the four tracks, 1 2 3 and 4. You can see this four track. In this type of arrangement, you can see that some parts is transparent and some part is opaque. So again it creates the binary code. Say the parts through which the light penetrates, it is indicated as 0, and the part which from which the light not penetrates is so the part through which the light not penetrates, it is indicated 0 over here in this type of arrangement. And the part through which the light penetrates, it is indicated as 1. So over here you can see that this point, from this point, this is the transparent point from which the light can easily penetrate, so it is indicated as 1. And this is the bottom portion, it is also transparent, so it is 1. And rest two parts are the opaque, so through which the light cannot be easily penetrate, so it is 0 0. So it is used to obtain the information about the position, it can measure the position, speed of the rotation, and direction of the rotation of the motor. So basically output is in form of digital signal, and that further transferred to the microcomputer is called the shaft encoder. So basically mainly we have two types of shaft encoder. So first is shaft encoder transducer. So this is the diagram of the plate which we mount on the shaft of the motor. So basically it consists of the binary coded disk which can be mounted on the rotor shaft such that it rotates such that uh, uh, it consists of the binary code disk mounted on the shaft such that it rotates along with the shaft. And the disk has four tracks. Over here you can see that such that some sections are transparent and some are the opaque. And due to such kind of arrangement, if we put a light source on the surface, the light can be penetrate to the transparent part, and cannot be penetrate or transparent to the opaque part, transfer to the opaque part. And the opposite side, if we put the sensor which can sense the output, which sense the output in terms of the binary code. So light sections are transparent, and dark are the opaque. You can see this in the figure. And LED which mounted on the side of each track, photo transistor mounted on the other side of the track. So the photo transistor basically uh, uh, emits the light, and means LED means which are mounted on the side of each track, and phototransistor mounted on the other side of the track. So phototransistor will sense the light of the LED, and according to the sensing of the light through this plate, the phototransistor will get operated, and we will get that output in terms of binary. So when the light passes through the transparent section, it reaches to the phototransistor, and the phototransistor doesn't conduct it, output logic will considered as 0. So if phototransistor receives the light from the light source, then it will get conducted, and if it doesn't, then it is known as the no output. So each code represent an absolute angular position of the shaft in its rotation. So here we consider the 360 degree. So, and we have the 4-bit disk. So 360 are divided up to 16 parts. So from this, if you calculate that from here, so it is total 16 parts, so that the position of the shaft can be determined 360 divided by the 16, so it will be 22.5 degrees. So it can sense the shaft position from means with angle 22.5 degree ratio. This is disadvantage, means the main disadvantage of this absolute encoding are that the multiple detectors are required. Also multiple lines are required, because if we need to measure a shaft position for the large motor, say we need multiple detectors to sense the position of the shaft. So that the above problem increases the difficulty in keeping tracks of position during the multiple rotation, and the problem can be solved by incremental detector or incremental encoder, and the data from the encoder is processed and sent to the microcomputer. The microcomputer uses the data from the mouse to move on the screen cursor to desired location. So basically what we are doing, we are just checking the shaft position. In the previous case, if you check that the 360 degree is divided in 16 parts, so it can sense 22.5 degree of the motion. So that motion can be sensed by the phototransistor, because we have the arrangement of the plate on the shaft, which have the opaque and transparent sections, and when the light penetrates through that, the transistor will get operated, and we will get the output in terms of binary, and binary will sense that signal will send to the microcomputer, and then microcomputer will give the output. So this is how the shaft encoder works, and this optical shaft encoder having a certain disadvantage, and this is the updated means disadvantages are disadvantages of the optical shaft encoder overcome in the incremental encoder. So in this incremental encoder, you can see that incremental encoder disk, we have the number of holes, circular window, and the rest of the part of this circular disc is say opaque, and the point through which you can see that it is the white, or it can be it is the transparent part. And again, the structure which is same over here, you can see that this is the disk, means we are watching it from the side view, and the the point at which we created the hole, at that point we place our LED source, and in front of the LED, means opposite side of this disk, we place the photo transistor. So the whatever the light coming from this LED source, LED is continuously on, and if LED uh, uh, means through the LED, if light gets penetrated through the disk, then that will sense by this photo transistor, and it will get operated. So generally it produces the pulse for each increment of the shaft rotation, and basically it has the circular window, the circular disc mounted on the shaft, and the disc rotates with the shaft. So as the disc rotates, and the position of the LED and the photo transistor, you can see over here in this diagram. So whenever the shaft rotates, the disc which is mounted on the shaft also rotates. So LED and photo transistor are mounted such as they remain opposition to each other. So over here you can see that the placement of LED and the photo transistor, and as the disc rotates, uh, uh, train of pulses are generated. You can see that over here, suppose we place our LED source, then suppose in one rotation it will get the signal 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0. So this type of train is generated, and the number of pulses in one rotation is equal to the number of circular window on the disk. So this is how we can sense the output, or we can say shaft position, with the help of incremental encoder. So basically the number of pulses which are generated after one rotation is equal to the number of circular windows on the disk. So these are the holes which are created. So in one rotation it counts the number of say times through number of means times the light which get penetrated through the disk, because of such shape of the disk. Now uh, after this incremental encoder, we have the topic number 8, which is proximity sensor. So let us discuss the topic number 8, proximity sensor. So in proximity sensor, proximity is nothing but the object which is near to the like sensor. So over here you can see that this is the diagram of the proximity sensor. Basically it consists of an element that changes either its state or along signal when it is close to but often not actually touching an object. So this definition describes that whenever we have any object, or we can say conducting object, near to the sensor. So means that suppose that element or that object is changing its position, and uh, uh, the an analog signal when it closes to but the actually it is uh, touching an like object, say magnetic, electrical capacitance and inductance and eddy current methods are particularly suitable to design the proximity sensor. So basically proximity sensor uses the principle of say electromagnetism, then the capacitance and the inductance. So we all know that working function of this three type of say arrangement, and the eddy current method. So this by using the principle of all four methods, it can be sense the proximity of the object. So the of a photometer detector pair represent another approach, where the interruption or reflection of a beam of light is used to detect an object in a non-contact manner, and the emitter and detector are usually a phototransistor and a photodiode. So common application for proximity sensor and limit switches includes the first is the eddy current proximity sensor. So how this eddy current proximity sensor works. So this is the diagram of eddy current proximity sensor. This is the conducting object, and this is the means setup, means this is the sensor coil and this is the reference coil. So whenever this object moves, sensor coil will sense the position of this object, and it will give signal to the compare the signal to the reference coil, and it will give the output, or it will generates the EMF according to the motion of this conducting object. Then when coil is supplied with an alternating current, so this coil will have the alternating current supply. An alternating magnetic field will produce, and if a metal object which is close to the this sensor, so this metal object cuts the magnetic field which is produced by this coil, and so that the if the metal object closes to this proximity sensor, it will attain the magnetic field, or we can say it enters into the magnetic field, and then eddy current are induced in it. So as this object moves and if enters into the magnetic field of this proximity sensor, the eddy currents will be induced in this conducting object, because the conducting object itself cuts the magnetic flux, and so that the EMF will produce, and the eddy current which produced due to the cutting action of the magnetic lines of force. So it used to detect non-magnetic conductive material. So the eddy current themselves produce a magnetic field which distorted the magnetic field responsible for that production, and this is nothing but the Lenz law oppose the cause which has made it, and the that results the impedance of the coil changes, so that the amplitude of the alternating current field changes, and the above changes are some preset level, and that can be trigger a switch. The advantages of this proximity sensor, or we can say eddy current proximity sensor, is they are small in size, and it has high flexibility, because due to such type of arrangement we can place such setup wherever we require, and we can use this proximity sensor to measure the any non-conducting means conducting element, or over here you can see that we use the non-magnetic conductive material, so we can sense the proximity of non-magnetic conducting element with the help of this eddy current proximity sensor. And it has the high sensitivity to the small displacement, because it is a magnetic circuit, or we can say magnetic sensor. So whenever the object which moves near into the magnetic field, so that the cutting action due to the cutting action of the magnetic lines of force, the sensor will quickly give the output, and this is how we can say that it is sensitive, and due to such a easy, or we can say small setup, it is relatively inexpensive, so we can use wherever we require with small investment. Now the next is the capacitive proximity sensor. So as we all know that the working function of the capacitance, basically capacitors depending upon the area of plates and distance between two plates, and the medium which is present between the two plates of the capacitor. So here we are using the same principle to measure the proximity of any object. So here you can see that this is the sensor plate, and these two are the coaxial cable, and in between we have the sensor plate, and this is the object acting as the plate. So this is the sensor plate and this is the object plate. So this two creates the shape of the capacitor, and in between we have the dielectric medium as a air as a dielectric medium. So here this is the structure like a capacitor. So this diagram shows the capacitive proximity sensor. Yes, so this diagram shows the capacitive proximity sensor. Basically, it consists of the say two plates, and in between two plates we have the air as a medium. So this is the structure like a capacitor. So as the object approaches the sensor, means this object moves, the distance between two capacitive, or we can say the plates between the distance between two plates will get reduced, and as the distance between two plates will get reduced, then from the expression epsilon 0 epsilon r a by d, so this is the expression for the capacitor. So the capacitance is inversely proportional to the distance between two plates. So as the object approaches towards the sensor, the distance between two plates will get reduced, and so that the as distance reduces, capacitance will increase. And as this plate means going away from this sensor plate, then the distance between two plates will increase, and so that the capacitance of this setup will get reduced. So as the object approaches the sensor, separation between the plates of the capacitor and object changes, so which becomes the significant as the object closes to the sensor. So we are using that means principle to use the capacitive proximity sensor. Now this is the third part, which is the inductive proximity sensor. So an inductive proximity sensor, generally the proximity switch consists of a coil wound a core, and when the end of the coil is closed to a metal object, its inductance changes. So this change can be monitored by its effect on a resonance circuit, and the change can be used to trigger a switch. So it can be only used for the detection of metal object, and is based with the ferrous metal. So this is the principle of say change in the impedance. So generally mm, we put a material which can cut the magnetic flux. So the EMF, or we can say the reactance of the coil will change, and as the reactance of the coil will change, its EMF will change, its impedance will change. So this is how this inductive proximity sensor works. So these are the proximity sensor. Now let us discuss the topic number 9, which is resolvers. So this is the diagram of the resolver. So the application of the resolver is to use for the conversion of the angular position of the shaft into the Cartesian coordinates. So angular position of the shaft can be converted into the Cartesian coordinates such a way that the position of the coils in stator and the rotor, you can see that this is the diagram of or we can say wiring diagram of resolver. Over here you can see that the rotor windings are perpendicular to each other, and the stator windings, which are placed like that 90 degree to each other. So this transducer contains basically two signals. One is proportional to the sine of the angle, and other is proportional to the cosine angle. So it is an electromagnetic device. Generally it works on the principle of electromagnetic induction, that's why it is electromagnetic device. And it contains two stator. Over here you can see that this two are the stator windings. It is like two phase, two pole wound rotor induction motor. So two phase, two pole wound rotor induction motor, because the rotor is already, you can see that rotor is having winding, it is wounded. So here you can see that 1 and 2, this are the two poles, and two pole wound rotor induction motor. So the two windings are say identical, and they are housed in magnetic structure with axis of two windings 90-degree to each other. So over here you can see that both are at 90-degree to each other. This is the separation of the say stator winding, and two rotor windings are so placed in the magnetic structure and are perpendicular to each other. So this are the angle which is created, say over here you can see that this is the angle which is created 90 degrees. So both are perpendicular to each other. So alternating voltage if applied to the stator winding, it produces an alternating magnetic flux, or we can say it produces the EMF field that induces voltage into the rotor circuit, because as we give the alternating current to this winding, it will produce the flux, and the flux which is cutting by the rotor conductor, so that the in the rotor circuit the EMF will produce. So the output voltage of the rotor is proportional to the stator voltage, means the whatever the voltage applied to the stator, according to the output of the rotor, means rotor voltage will changes. So both are in proportion, and the coupling between the stator and rotor winding. So this this is the point at which we if we consider the, suppose our shaft is connected, and this two having the alternating supply, and as we give the alternating current to the coil on the coil will produce the EMF, or we can say it produces the flux. And in the magnetic field we place the rotor conductor or rotor winding, both are at 90-degree to each other, and when it rotates, then it will produce the output due to the cutting action of magnetic lines of force. So this is the diagram of the resolver. Now let us discuss the let the stator winding S1 S3 are excited by an AC source, and windings S2 and S4 are short circuited. So means we have four windings, means terminals S1 S3 S2 S4. So through from which S1 and S2 are the excited, means given excited excitation, and S2 and S4 are short circuited. Then the output voltage from the rotor are say VR123, because S1 and S3 are excited, so we'll get the output at 1 3. So V S1 3 cos theta and 2 4 are short circuited, so the output is minus VS1 3 sine theta. So these two are the equation when we give supply or excitation to S1 and S3, and S2 and S4 are the short circuited. When the two stator windings are excited, the outputs are means VR13, so VS13 cos theta plus VS24 sin theta, and VR24 VR24, so VS24 cos theta and VS13 sin theta. So this is when we excite the two stator windings. So this is the output that we get from the rotor circuit. And when two rotor windings are excited, the outputs are VS13, means as we give the input supply to the rotor conductor will produce the flux, and this time flux is cutting by the stator conductor. So as we give the supply or excitation to the rotor conductor, then the output is VS13, because we are checking output at the stator side. That's why VS13 is VR13 cos theta. This two equations are similar, just R and S is replaced, because minus VR24 sin theta, and VS24 is VR24 cos theta plus VR13 sin theta. So theta is the angular displacement of the rotor for all equation. So the classification of the resolvers are it is say it has two types. First is computing resolvers, and second one is synchro resolvers. So Basically, computing resolvers are used for generating sine, cosine, and tangent function for solving the geometric relationship. And synchro resolvers are used for the data transmission. Basically, their function is same as that of synchro transmitter, receiver, and control transformer. And the accuracy of above say resolvers, computing resolvers and synchro resolvers is good. So that we can use this like resolvers for the to check the output, means shaft output in terms of Cartesian voltage. So the application of the resolvers are, the output is say first is vector composition, then vector resolution, and vector angle and component resolution through the because of the arrangement of rotor conductor and the stator conductor. So we'll get this three application using the arrangement of the winding. And the fourth one is the we can use for phase shifting, and the fifth one is the pulse amplitude control and pulse resolution. So these are the application of the resolver. And after this uh, presentation or lecture, you have the assignment question. First is explain shaft encoder in detail. Second one is explain resolvers with its application, advantages and disadvantages. And the third is explain proximity sensor. So these three are the assignment questions, and this is the instruction related to the assignment. Please read it carefully. You can take the snap of this slide, and if you have any doubt or query in this presentation, we can solve your doubt and queries in our doubt solving session. So if you and you are also called to me, feel free to call me anytime to solve your doubts related to the topic. Thank you very much, student. Jai Swaminarayan.